So I think that takes us, Mr. Mazuru, to one of the most interesting subjects, the insurance for our equipment and risk management for our equipment at farm level. Our equipment works hard for us, but we don't do enough to protect it. And at the end of the day, we lose investment that would have put in our machinery, be it tractors, combine harvesters, and all that. Maybe you would want to comment on that.
All those machines that you are talking about, the tractors, the combine harvesters, those are expensive pieces of equipment.
Very true.
And being machines, they are subject to mechanical breakdowns.
Very true.
So a farmer needs to make sure that he maintains his equipment properly. There are a number of things that a farmer should do to maintain the equipment properly. The first one, just keeping the proper records for the machinery.
Yes.
The manuals, the purchase dates, even the price of that piece of equipment. Because if you are going to claim from insurance, you need to know the price of that piece of equipment. In addition to that, you then need to do all the other regular maintenances. Contact the supplier so that he does the maintenance maybe after the hours that he has specified. So when you get to that hour, you should take the machine for maintenance.
True, that's very true, Mr. Mazuru. And considering that even ourselves, when we work for 2 hours, we would want to eat.
Yes.
Looking after our own bodies, we need to make sure that we look after our own equipment, our own tractors, and like you pointed out, it's got working hours that is required to say after 20 hours it goes for service to make sure that we keep its health in place. That helps in a lot of things, and our farmers should know that if you look after your equipment, for example, tractors and combine harvesters, it can be a source or an ignition for fire.
Yes,
it can be a source of fire, sure. If it binds somehow, it can start a fire. Because it does not have the proper required maintenance. So to maintain that, we manage the risks of fire, and we actually prolong the lifespan of our very own equipment and machinery. And also to point out that when we are operating these machines, we need to make sure that we've got the people with the right know-how in terms of what to do when it's producing a sound like this, what to do if a fire is to be seen around. It helps us protect our equipment. And I also want to point out on one of the things, considering that we can see that our tractor here is carrying out, is pulling a boom sprayer. When you are using operating using a boom sprayer, it is important to make sure that we then wash the tank each and every time we want to use the tank, because we operate at a farm level using different chemicals. Sometimes you're using a herbicide, sometimes you're using an insecticide, sometimes we're using even a fungicide. So it really helps make sure that we manage the risk of then having a residual effect of the chemical that was in the tank. For example, a green crop like this, they say previously the operator was using a contact herbicide like maybe paraquat or diquat. I'm not sure if it's still allowed now. Then you come in with your a viral disease control, and then you did not do the proper work of washing the tank maybe at least 3 times to make sure that we wash away the chemicals. What is going to happen is that you will burn the whole crop. That has got a negative impact on our yield. That has got a negative impact on the financial status of our farm, because we are likely to lose the very same investment that we would want to protect. So it is really important to make sure that we have all that in place. Mr. Mazu.
When you talk about cleaning the boom spray, Clyde, that reminds me, you should just keep our equipment clean. Sometimes you'd see a farmer with a plow that is got a thick layer of mud and he's using it in his field. Let's just keep our equipment clean. At the end of the day, let's clean our equipment. We then keep them for a longer period. In the morning before you start working, just check to see whether your equipment is okay. If you hear an odd sound somewhere, make sure you find out what it is, because that may be the start of a major problem may come.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. I actually wanted to point out from an agronomic perspective what then it means. If you're operating from a potato field up there, you don't wash or clean the equipment, it can be a source of disease to bring a disease to this part of the field.
Okay.
So, like you said, you are plowing there, you are doing what? We need to make sure that we just make it a common practice to make sure that we wash our equipment and we clean from field to field. It helps us reduce the impact or even spread of diseases from one field to the other. We have had cases where I think it was to do with a disease for a solanaceous crop, and the farmer was operating from one field that was close to the end of its cycle, the end of the life of the crop, and they were almost at harvesting, but it was contaminated. But what they did not do, they did not clean the machinery and equipment from that field to the other field. As a result, they took the blight from that field, spread it in the new field. The next thing, the whole field is gone. And then the farmer lost, I think, a good 11 hectares. It's one of the cases that I always put reference to, because it resulted in a very big financial loss. So it is a common practice that farmers should make sure that we practice all the time the cleaning of equipment from one activity to the other, so that we put in the stop gaps and the breaks each and every given time.
And to add to that, Clyde, I would encourage our farmers to make sure that they get spare parts for this expensive equipment from reputable suppliers. If you get a wrong spare part from those other suppliers, it may cause a bigger damage to your expensive piece of equipment. And you may even then lose the whole equipment and you have to buy another one. So make sure that you use proper spare parts on your machine, use proper oils, use proper fuels. Do not get fuel from the black market.
Very true, Mr. Mazuru. That's actually very, very important. We need to make sure that we are always on the lookout to make sure how we are maintaining our equipment. Oh, okay. So I think let's talk a bit about in terms of insurance and claims procedure for the equipment. I think over and above what the farmer would have done to prevent the loss, we might actually still lose our equipment. Let's say the tractor is struck by lightning. We are lost. We would have lost the tractor, and the farmer would have lost their investment. But what would they do in the event of such a loss? It's important to touch on that.
We need to insure our equipment because this runs our farm. If you do not have this farm, you will not be able to continue operations. So make sure that your equipment is properly insured. If we take, for example, this one, this is a specific piece of equipment and it's got an identification mark.
Sure.
Make sure that when you insure, you have used the proper identification mark. Because we have had challenges whereby someone maybe insures one piece of equipment but has got 3 pieces of equipment, hoping that if he loses any one of those, he can then claim for any of those 3. But let's be faithful. Let's insure properly. If I've got 5 pieces of equipment, let's insure all of them and identify them accordingly. When there's a claim, let's bring out all the proper documentation and you get compensated accordingly.
Very true, Mr. Mazuru. And it's also very important to build trust, because insurance is about trust, really. The principle of utmost good faith. The insurer should be very open to the insured. And the farmer being insured should also be very open and transparent to the insurer, because we are in this together, because it's a partnership that we have, so that we help each other. In the event of a loss, it compensates you. And then throughout the process, it helps our farmers with a good risk management framework plan in place. It means they can have access to credit, access to finance that we so much need to make sure that we modernize even our operations at the farm. And one of the ways we can do is that we must have good risk management and proper insurance programs that protect us.
Another thing that a farmer needs to reveal to the insurer is whether he uses this piece of equipment only on this farm, or he sometimes hires them out to other people. Because if you tell your insurer that this piece of equipment, I only use it on this farm, and then you take it to the next farm, and there is a fire while it is not there, in that case you may not be compensated because it had gone outside what you have revealed to your insurer. So if you sometimes hire out your equipment, reveal that to your insurer.
That's very true, and it's important. Sure. Thanks so much for that one. We hope our farmers are listening and they are going to learn a thing or two in terms of risk management and protection of our valuable equipment and machinery.